Alex Hinton with TCDI. Today I have with me Bogdan Salamaha, Senior Cybersecurity Engineer with TCDI. In 2020, ransomware attacks increased by 750%, making them one of the biggest threats to business. Bogdan has helped many businesses recover from ransomware attacks, so he's going to speak with us for a few minutes about his experiences doing that. Great to have you here today, Bogdan.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So first question I have for you is, what do you see when you go on site after a business suffers a ransomware attack?
Yeah, usually it's a calm panic type of thing where the stakeholders, the IT personnel, they kind of understand what's at stake. They understand the severity, but usually they're in a state where they're making decisions from panicked state of mind, because obviously there's a lot of things going through their mind at that point, like, oh no, how could I let this happen? Oh no, not me. I didn't think that'll happen to us, and it's kind of like this thing that can often spiral out of control, unfortunately. But what we love doing is actually coming on site in those types of situations and kind of regaining control and helping organizations regain their footwork, and so they can hit the ground running with getting back online and back to normal operations as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like no one thinks as clearly when they're panicked. So what can businesses do then to avoid ransomware attacks?
Yeah, that's a very good question. We get asked that a lot, and usually, some people try to find like a turnkey solution where, like, oh, you just check this checkbox on your firewall and you're good to go. Unfortunately, it's not that easy. However, one thing that we found is probably the greatest deterrent for ransomware, or even the start of ransomware, is really training and education. I mean, I might even sound like a bit of a broken record because everyone hears that, but we can't really stress that enough. Because if you don't know what you're looking for, or when it comes to phishing emails or malicious links, then you're more susceptible to getting or falling victim to those. Since in recent years, really the greatest influx of ransomware has been, or the root of it has been, things like phishing emails, spear phishing emails, where they're targeting very specific people within the organization, and they just keep sending them stuff. And after a certain amount of time, that person may be having a bad day. They have maybe lived through something, and maybe their decisions are not top notch as they should be, and they'll click on something, and that's all it takes.
Yeah, those phishing emails sure are getting really slick. So they've improved a lot over the years, that's for sure. So what are the first steps a business should take if they get ransomware?
Yeah, that's usually, it may vary based on the organization and kind of, if they have certain compliance requirements or they have certain regulatory requirements on the type of information they work with. But typically what we recommend is, in an event like that, where even there's a small scare of an incident, even if it ends up being a false positive, is reach out to your IR team that that you may have on hand, or a third-party IR vendor, that someone that can come in and take a look at things from a third-party perspective, since they may be able to look at it from a different perspective and be able to kind of absorb exactly what's going on, maybe a lot quicker than someone that may be staring in that environment, for 8 hours a day, and they may miss things. And a good example of this is, just a couple of years ago, we had a call like that. We ended up showing up on site, and this client were in full panic mode, and it ended up being a false positive, but they just needed another set of eyes to kind of help them come to the realization that, okay, this isn't an actual incident, let's bring down the flags, and then kind of explain exactly what happened here. And it really just ended up being a miscommunication of certain configuration settings within the environment, which was a good thing for them. But yeah, we typically recommend reaching out to a third party that can assist with that to get another set of eyes on it.
That makes sense. So after a ransomware attack, I understand that a lot of businesses consider restoring from backups. Does this approach have any drawbacks that they should be aware of?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very good question. Typically with incidents, we always recommend, having good backups. That's usually one of our first questions when we show up on site is, hey, do you have backups? Do you know if they're okay? When was the last time you tested restoring them? Um, but one of the things that we've seen with restoring backups right away without going through a process of validating them in like a air-gapped environment is that we actually, another story, but we had a number of years ago, we had an incident where an organization was hit with ransomware. Long story short, they found out later that their backups had the malicious executables and files in them. So every time they restore, they were just reintroducing malware back into their environment, and there was like a repetitive logic bomb, a virus that kind of just, or a piece of malware that essentially executes itself over a certain amount of time or given certain circumstances, and it kept happening for almost 3 months until they were able to put together some sort of solution to start vetting the backups on the side and then restoring the data as they saw fit. Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible. Is there anything else that you want to share with us today? Anything that you've picked up along the way that might be helpful for businesses to know and maybe implement?
Yeah. So again, kind of like a broken record, but really putting together a incident response plan, I think, is very, very critical. And, we've had situations where we'll show up on site and we'll be like, all right, how are your backups looking? Where's your incident response plan? Questions like that. And they'll look at us and tell us, well, you're our incident response plan. And, as humbling as that is, and, we like being in a situation where we can help organizations get back on their feet in scenarios like that. Having a incident response plan is something that'll prepare an organization for almost the inevitable in some cases. There's a lot of security experts out there say that it's not a matter if you'll get attacked or hacked or however you want to say it, it's a matter of when and how prepared will you be when that happens. And the incident response plan is a great opportunity to really outline your main primary contacts, what an incident looks like. Does it require legal counsel? Who requires notification? Depending on the incident, is this something that needs to go straight to the top, to the C-suite executives, or is this something that can be handled internally and then brought up to management at a later point? Because there's varying degrees of incidents, So really, I think that's some of the best advice we can give is be prepared. You can't see the punches coming if you've never trained, type of thing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Do you think that perhaps that's why people are more panicked generally when you go on sites, because they don't have a plan in place?
Yeah, that's absolutely why, because there's a lot of uncertainty, there's a lot of unknowns. They'll often make decisions that aren't good for like a forensically sound investigation, deleting data, deleting evidence, things that may provide information as to, okay, how the incident occurred, what type of data are they trying to retrieve, if they are trying to exfiltrate data, and really like what was the attacker's goal. And without a plan, again, it's kind of like an emotional response to what's happened as opposed to a logical response as to, okay, this is the type of attack we're seeing, this is the outline we're following to take care of it, and then we're also reaching out to our third-party incident response vendor to facilitate and help with that. Yeah.
This has all been really really enlightening today. I really appreciate you taking time to meet with me and answer a few of my questions, and I look forward to our next one of these. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you.